Joe Jonas rejected me when I was in high school. Yeah, it's true. When I was a junior in high school, I had a winter formal coming up, and this was a dance at my school which required a date to go to. And so, of course, I wanted to go to the dance with my number one crush of that time, who happened to be Joe Jonas. Was he an international superstar at the moment? Yeah. Did I think that mattered? Absolutely not. So I sent Joe Jonas a letter. It was crafted out of poster board and beads and glitter and numerous photos of myself so that he would know who he would be taking to this dance, letting him know that I wanted him to take me to the winter formal. And so I was asking him on a date, basically. And nothing, no response. And rejection of any kind is always unpleasant. Now, I know that story is a bit silly and you might think that's just absurd, but you know what I mean when you put yourself out there, when you ask someone on a date, or when you want to spend time with a new friend, or you want to do something with someone and they just aren't interested, whether they outright reject you or just ignore you, like Joe ignored me. There's a real pain that comes with that. It's really unpleasant. It's very uncomfortable. And there's a lot of that going on in this week's upcoming gospel reading. In this week's reading, there are two major things that happen that we hear about. So we hear about Jesus going through Samaria and being rejected by the Samaritan people. And then we hear about the would-be followers of Jesus, the people who Jesus has called to follow him, but they come up with excuses. So there's the person who says, but first. And so there's that reality of rejection taking place in both of these places. This gospel reading reveals a lot about what it means to be a follower of Jesus. That if we take following Jesus very seriously, we're going to go into places where we are rejected, where people don't want to hear about the good news of Jesus, where people are going to reject Jesus, and by extension, they'll reject us. It's going to be unpleasant. There's that reality, that aspect of Christianity that exists if we really do take what we are doing seriously. Jesus showed us that he is not always going to be welcomed by every person in every community. And he showed us that if we want to follow him, we have to get comfortable with leaving behind what we know as familiar and what we know as comfortable and step into some unknown territory. That's really challenging. It can be very intimidating, but we do know that Jesus, he has given us the power in his Spirit to do that. He has given us the ability to step into places where we might face rejection and know the very real pain and hurt that comes with that, but we can still trust in his goodness despite the way the world, different people, different friends, different family, different communities may reject us as we try to bring Jesus, try to offer his love wherever we are. And I'll be honest, the call of Christianity, the rejection that may come with that, the rejection that will come with that from the world is going to sting a lot more than Joe Jonas not getting back to me about coming to my winter formal. But that doesn't mean that it's not worth it. When we've received the reality, the gift that it is to live in relationship with Jesus, to sacrifice ourselves with him to the Father so that we can spend eternity with him, we recognize that we've received something that we can't ignore. And that is going to mean that we will step into places where that conviction that we have is not always going to be welcome, but we can always trust that Jesus will never abandon us in that, and that he will always be near to us, always love us, and offer us that life that we were created for, that fullness of life that will ultimately satisfy our hearts. I hope your Summit small groups are going well, and if you guys want to talk about any celebrities that have rejected you, why don't you start out this week's small group talking about some of that? If not, you can just leave some thoughts in the comments below, and any other thoughts that you have about this week's reflection. We'd love to hear how you guys are taking in these readings every week, and this week in the particular gospel reading. Thank you so much for watching this week's video, and I'll catch you next week as we continue to journey through these Summit Sundays together.